Indian literature. I'm here with Jalisa and I am Roseanne. And without further ado, let's get right into what West Indian literature is.
Everybody would say that West Indian literature is exactly what it implies. Literature from the West Indies. Nope, it's much more than that. Usually, West Indian literature carries similar themes. So a lot of authors deal with issues of identity, homecoming, change, moving on, and the journey, the voyage, and a lot of different aspects that are commonly found throughout the region.
We wanted to tell you about Caribbean literature, but we also wanted to convince you why you should read it. There's a couple of genres that you might be interested in. We're going to mention a play, some poems. We're also going to mention a novel, and also we're going to delve into the newer genres of West Indian literature. So without further ado, let's begin. There is a poet that she is very, when I say passionate, is that word? Let's say passionate about. And she was telling me about him and how he even got arrested for his cause. So I'm gonna let her tell you about that.
Martin Carter's poetry was the most influential poetry that I have read throughout my academic life. Carter was Viennese, and he wrote resistance poetry. He pushed for revolution. His poetry really captures the essence of the time, and he speaks about the landscape in Guyana, and he uses metaphors and symbolism to tie this landscape into this struggle, and he gives a voice with a voice that's.
Let's start right up with Samuel Sylvan and A Brighter Sun. Now this book is a favorite, especially in my family, because my mother had a problem with my older brother. He would not read his books in secondary school. Like seriously, she would have to read his literature books to him. And one day he came on this book, and my mother said he was up like 9-10 o'clock in the night. His light still on, he reading. And it was A Brighter Sun, a 16-year-old young man who is suddenly put into an arranged marriage. All of a sudden he's gonna have a wife, he's gonna have his own home, he needs his own job, and he has to have his own family. And it's really interesting because Tiger's journey is from being this young man, and generally the whole book is about hope, because even the name of the book says A Brighter Sun. And at the end of the day, both Tiger and his wife become responsible adults. She becomes a better mother, he becomes a better father, and through the trials they make it. So this book really gives you a sense of hope and entertains young boys for some reason. But anyway, Jalisa was telling me earlier about George Lamy and how his autobiography is a reflection of Caribbean life. And we were also talking about memetics. It is a reflection of his life. And Jalisa is going to tell you a little bit about what happens in that book.
Right, so as I was telling Roseanne earlier, In the Castle of My Skin is from George Lamy, born and bred in Barbados, and this book is mimetic because it reflects Caribbean life. It is in the heart of Carrington Village. We learn about G, which is the protagonist, and his life and his whole coming of age, and just the basic things that he went through as an adolescent and into adulthood. And this autobiographical work just highlights some of the trials he went through. We see an accurate portrayal of Carrington Village, the place in the country Barbados, and on a broader scale in the West Indies. And I think that this is one of the good West Indian novels, and
a true reflection.
Yeah, it's a true reflection of West Indian life.
Now I'm gonna talk to you guys about Derek Walcott and his plays. Derek, well, not all of his plays, just one. I'm going to be talking about Tijan and his brothers,
which you can find in Dream on Monkey Mountain, a collection of plays. You should read all, but Tijan is the most interesting.
Yes, and the most creepy, but we'll get to that. So Tijan and his brothers is basically a story, and when I say basically, I mean if you don't read between the lines. It's basically a story about three brothers going to confront the devil to make a deal. Sounds really creepy, isn't it? It's creepy. But when you read into it and when you actually understand Tijan and his brothers, it becomes a story that is much more. Let me just give you a brief outline of what happens in the play. First, Tijan, it starts with the introduction with talking animals, which is creepy first. Each brother tries to, do this task of making a deal with the devil, of defeating him.
Only one will survive.
Of course, only one will survive, but that's a spoiler. So, John goes first and tries to defeat the devil with strength. And this is very symbolic of how what is the word I'm looking for? The people of the Caribbean try to overthrow their rulers or the oppressors, which in this case was the devil. He decides to be the strong one. He decides that he is going to use his brawn to defeat the devil. So he goes up to the devil and he works on his plantation. And the devil does something that is a device in a lot of Caribbean literature, which is calling his name wrong, referring to him in the wrong. Oh my goodness!
I think he uses a lot of different things. He's calling big man, bro,
everything but his
names.
name.
Yeah,
and that also happens in A Brighter Sun. The boss calls Tiger John just to annoy him, and this is symbolic of them not the colonial, the white man not recognizing the slave or the black man for who he is. So then, of course, this is a tragic comedy because it's hilarious that the devil is not calling him by his name. But then he dies, he gets eaten because the devil finally aggravates him and wins.
What was Walker thinking?
I don't know. It's creepy. Then we have, what is Mijan?
Mijan.
Mijan is the middle brother, and he thinks he's a genius, which is a little bit ironic because in the language of the poem, you can definitely tell they are not as educated as they would like. Oh my goodness, play. In the language of the play, you can tell they speak apart. Well, it's a mix between French and English.
And but his language also shows that he is educated, and I think that has something to do with what Walcott was trying to do in terms of integrating how education was becoming at a point. But
in that era,
this education wasn't necessarily the education that
could
overthrow what was going on with the devil and him, and that's why he was ultimately defeated.
Alright guys, now we're going to tell you all about how West Indian literature is making new strides in contemporary is the right word? Mm-hmm. In contemporary genres such as science fiction, which are very popular. That is not a word. Which is a very popular genre. Okay. The first one we're going to mention is Nalo Hopkinson.
And Nalo Hopkinson is very successful in the way how she integrates something like science fiction, which is not necessarily
Caribbean.
Popular in the Caribbean. And she takes this science fiction, which the closest thing we have to science fiction in the Caribbean is actually like folklore and superstition. But she takes science fiction to a whole other level when she integrates her Caribbean writing in novels such as Brown Girl in the Ring, The Closer,
The Chaos,
etc.
Anyway, guys, I wanted to mention to you a number of other Caribbean writers who we ourselves have not read yet but are looking forward to reading. And these are people who are fantasy Caribbean writers who are modern. There's Susan Cooper, she has a novel called Green Boy. There is Gerald Hosman, he has one called Time Swimmer. There was Nalo Hopkinson again with The Chaos. There is Joanne Skerritt with Abraham's Treasure. There is Lisa Allen and Agonesti with The Chalice Project. There is Billy Elm with Delroy in the Marag Kingdom. Yes. There is The Jambi Seed by Tracy Baptiste. And
Jambi
finally, you know about that?
Yeah.
Oh, well. And finally, there is Alpha Goddess by Amelie Howard. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us in this video all about West Indian literature. We hope that you will take our advice and get into some West Indian literature quite soon.
So you need to check out some West Indian literature because it's entertaining, it's educational. You're gonna get a lot of cultural experiences from around the region from reading West Indian literature.
In any case, guys, that is all of our time. We hope that you are having a lovely day or night wherever you are in the classroom. And we will see you next time on Book Talk.
Bye.
Bye. I guess I'm welcome to the guard for you for locking the door. Let's move on. Cause she can't there, Pete.
Who's that again?
Gotta back it up, back it up. Jaleesa will tell you about the Jambi Seed. Go ahead.
I can't remember what we're going to say.
Say something interesting.
Has a mother who's a duppy. Only Caribbean people know who's a duppy.
A duppy is a dead person.
Yeah,
Just for clarification.
yeah, for
And usually when you have too
friends.
much makeup on.